Good morning, Frank. Would you like some coffee?
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, you're wearing your uniform.
It's a little cold.
I can turn up the temperature if you like.
That's all right. Yeah, light on the crimp, please.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Howard.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Howard.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Howard.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Howard.
You are welcome. How's the coffee, Frank? How's the coffee, Frank? How's the coffee, Frank? How's that coffee, Frank? Frank, how's the coffee?
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Hello. Welcome once again to the Old Boys Podcast with me, Dan, and Jared. We're going to analyze a Netflix film for you, and we're going to tell a little bit of jokes along the way because that's what we do. But time for me to introduce my special co-host. He's always my special co-host. Hey, Jared. How you doing?
Morning, Dan.
How are you, Jared?
Good morning, Dan.
Hi, Jared.
Hi, Dan. Good morning.
What's
morning, Dan.
wrong, Jared?
Good morning, Dan.
Jared?
I am a AI robot. Beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, beep, boop, boop.
You're my LSO. That's what it is.
Hi, guys. I'll stop doing the pretends now. That's what we call pretends in the biz.
Yeah. I was interested to know what your flavors were, but...
Oh, boy. Do I have so many flavors, and by that I mean shit and piss.
That will become more clear if you have not seen the film The Infinity Chamber, which we are about to talk about today just for you.
I always love how we do these stupid skits about the film, and I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this have not even seen the movie, and they're like, what the fuck are they doing? It'll make sense eventually. I can't promise about right now, but
Soon.
Soonish.
Soon. We're going to talk about all the flavors. Every
Yes.
last one of them. There's only 6 that I know of.
And we'll taste them all.
In this film, at least.
Yes.
Supplied by Howard, whom...
Howard the Duck makes a special cameo appearance in this film, and we taste all
my
the
God.
flavors.
What? Okay. What if... Because it opens up with that shot of, like, you think that Howard's a dude behind a desk.
Yes, which I still kind of thought they were alluding to that,
Right.
but now I'm very confused.
So, fuck, Frank, he goes to that room at one point in the movie. How funny would it be if Howard the Duck just turns around in a chair and be like, "Hi, Frank."
Yes, that would be amazing. Okay, anyways, so this movie's called Infinity Chamber. It says 2016. I believe Netflix says it came out in 2017. It's a little confusing.
Well, it was probably released in, like, a film festival during 2016 and then got wide release later on in the year.
The synopsis as follows from IMDb is just one sentence. A man trapped in an automated prison must outsmart a computer in order to escape. And that is a good plot summary of the film.
But it pitched the computer as, like, this evil being, which it totally isn't.
Or is it?
It's just a fucking computer, man.
Well, or is it a computer?
Or is
That's
it?
like, I'm not even trying to be a dingus McWingus. Like, there's a lot of interesting things this movie brings up. Well, first impressions. So I liked a lot of the ideas behind this film, and I enjoyed how low budget it was and still how interesting the setting and a lot of other things were, despite, them not having a lot of money, clearly. I enjoyed the special effects in this movie a lot, and I thought the camera work was good and everything else. But like after you get past the initial fun ideas, some of the repetition in this movie and some of how the plot really starts to break, because they're trying to make almost like a continuous wheel of like how this movie works, because it's called the Infinity Chamber.
As soon as it happened the first time, I'm like, oh, this is not going to get boring at all. Where it's like, he thinks he's out of it, and then
Yes.
he's not out of it, and that happens like 3 times, and like,
Yeah,
oh, the
it
film,
happens a
the
lot.
title gave it away. Of course, he's
Yes.
not out of it yet.
And then it's all about what your perception of what's really going on. But what bothers me about the movie is that it sets up rules, and then it feels like it kind of breaks them or contradicts what the rules are.
Contradicts, maybe. Breaks?
I don't know.
No, I don't think it broke any rules. I liked it. I did like
Yeah.
it, and
It was okay.
it was okay. I don't hate it. It wasn't a chore to watch, but then I was thinking, like, why do I like this so much? And then it dawned on me, this movie is like, the very first thing it does right is it takes the cliche story structure that is Groundhog Day, like one day repeating itself and over and over and over again, and it brings a fresh idea to it. Like it's that same cliche plotline, but it's because they added a little bit more to it. It's not as boring as like the other types of ones that are just copying Groundhog Day are doing. But you can still see it in there. It's very heavily inspired by it. But in addition to that being an inspiration, I saw so many scenes, whether it just camera work or editing or acting, that it's like all of our favorite movies. So I saw a lot of Twin Peaks and other Lynch films in there.
Whoa, I missed
Heavy
that.
imagery. Well, the awkward conversation at the diner, coffee is a big theme.
Oh yeah, that's true. That I gotta say, all the coffee shop scenes drove me crazy.
Old Boy, because he's trapped and then he has to
Yes,
figure
it was
the shit
very
out.
Old Boy. Very
Cube,
Old Boy for sure.
Stuck in the
Yep.
same room the entire time, that looks futuristic. Jacob's Ladder. So that one scene where it was like kind of whenever he hurts himself or something, and then he's on the gurney going through and he's getting his shot. That was ripped directly
Probably
from
the
Jacob's
coolest.
Ladder.
Yeah, one of the coolest scenes of the whole
Yeah,
movie.
because it's that scene where Jacob goes to hell on
Yeah.
the gurney. So it's like, I'm like, oh, shit, okay. But then there's a lot of 2001 Space Odyssey, of course.
Oh yes,
and
You're
then
right, yeah.
Moon with Sam Rockwell. Mm-hmm. So it's like,
Wow,
all of these
yeah.
things are like, oh my god. He put it, or I think it was Tim Malloy, I think is the guy who directed
Travis Malloy.
Travis Malloy.
He wrote and directed it.
He put all this into one, and he kind of made it work for himself. So it reminded me of all these things, but it was not like an homage. It was just like, I want to do this because I fucking think it's cool, and I'm going to set it to my story.
And he did a good job
Yeah.
with that too, because it wasn't distracting to me.
No, it wasn't. I just
Really?
picked up on it. I'm like, oh, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I see what you mean. That's very neat. Well, why don't we dip our little feeties into
The opening
water?
scene to this movie is probably, you like that one scene where it looks like Jacob's Ladder. I like the opening scene of this film. It's my favorite scene in the film because
Oh, it's
it's
pretty great.
essentially, artistically, what it is just this close up on this picture, and it's kind of racking focus and zooming out a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then you see in the reflection of the glass frame of the picture his face.
Yeah.
And it just kind of shows his face more and more on top of the tree that we just become obsessed with. That's like essentially a MacGuffin. And as much as I liked it, and as much as it was just a really great shot and a really great way to think about opening this film, I couldn't stop laughing because this guy, can you get his name for me? Because I didn't look him up.
Frank.
No, the
is
actor.
the main character. Oh, Christopher Soren Kelly.
Christopher Soren Kelly, a.k.a. Christopher Jeremy Irons, looks exactly like Jeremy Irons. So the whole time I'm like, hello, I'm Jeremy Irons, and I'm a tree.
It looks like Jeremy Irons' son, basically.
Yeah, but like it was just Jeremy Irons' face popping or melding out of this tree, and it was the most insane looking thing. I'm
I
like,
want
what
to
the
fuck this tree.
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
Jeremy Irons, and when I
Exactly.
act, I say my name constantly to myself.
Exactly.
Jeremy Irons. But what I love, because they show the landscape of the image of, it's just like a kind of snowy landscape of these trees, this forest. It's cool, and then I did love this scene. You're right. In the beginning, where it kind of slowly fades into his reflection and then to him. And then it has the two laser lights in the background. And when you first see that, you're like, I don't fucking even know what that is.
Exactly. That being said, it's not like that's the only good thing of the film. It's just
Nope, that's it.
my
Then the
favorite
movie's over.
shot of the film. Like it was so well done. And you know, that could have been used later on in the film, or he may have been planning to use it later on in the film, but him putting it at the beginning doesn't mean that it's the only good thing about it.
No, I think there's a lot of good in this movie, and there's some not so good. But
Okay, we'll get there.
Okay. So does he wake up immediately in the cell? I think he does.
One of the biggest offenses in terms of student film cliches or independent film cliches is never, ever, ever have your character wake up. Because it's because how many fucking student films or independent films have you seen where it starts with a character waking up? You get tired of it after a long time, especially if it's done terribly.
I feel like that's something, if you were to, now that you've pointed it out to me, it's probably going to start bothering me.
Oh, yeah. No, just anytime that it's not a blockbuster film, if it's like a low-budget independent feature and it's trying to be good, watch how many times somebody wakes up.
What was that one Shimmer Lake movie where every chapter was somebody waking up?
So,
it's so stupid.
This film, I think, got away with that cliche because it happens so many fucking times.
Well, it revolves around the plot.
Between him in the chamber and him outside of the chamber, every fucking scene is him waking up. It got really annoying. But
so if you do it enough, it's okay.
Yeah, I got numb to it. I'm like, okay, I guess this is all right. That's fine. Whatever. As long as there's no fucking alarm clock, I think that's really what does it. And I've committed this crime too. Like that film that I took from your idea where we did a parody video of 1965, Thunderkiss 65. And the first scene is Brad waking up to an alarm clock.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I think
terrible.
this movie would be a lot better if Bill Murray just was the main...
You know, I think every movie would probably be
Bill
a lot
Murray
better
keeps waking up.
Bill Murray just kept waking up in it.
He doesn't care about solving the mystery or doing anything. He's just like...
Oh my God. I have such a great idea. We're going to start an independent film project in which we take like these really famous films and we're going to remake them. Mm-hmm. But the only caveat here is we're going to hire Bill Murray as our only actor. And the whole film, like he's going to be in the story world, but he's only going to be a civilian or whatever is going to happen. And it's just going to be a day in the life of him during that movie. So we may have like him interact with the characters at one point, but the film is going to be going on around him, but we're going to be focusing on his life during that film.
Can he not know that he's in a film?
Absolutely. That's the whole point.
Can we be breaking the law and...
Yes.
On his property?
Yes.
In his house?
Yes. That's...
We're just filming him like brushing his teeth.
That's
and,
how
like,
we are
his
going
dog.
to be filming him, but we are going to pitch it to the Hollywood execs as, you know, this is a scene from Seven. No, this is Seven, the remake, but it's Bill Murray just waking up and doing the shit.
Speaking of remakes, or just like taking something old and making it new, I always had this idea. I probably told you this before, but maybe not on the podcast. But I thought it would be funny to take old Shakespeare plays and recast all the actors as professional wrestlers or bodybuilders, because professional wrestlers can act. You know, a lot of them. I mean, God. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has become the biggest actor of all time. So it's like, get these huge buff dudes and like strong ladies and have them say Shakespeare.
They are,
and never bring up the fact that they're just giant hunks of meat.
They would be perfect actors, and then like get the real WWE ones in there too. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, I'm saying like the over actors.
Oh yeah.
So like bring Macho Man Randy Savage back from the dead, so he could just give him like a lead role, so he just screams everything.
Now, would you want them in their wrestling attire?
Yes,
playing
of course,
the characters?
leotards, absolutely.
Okay.
And then
like the Undertaker shows
like,
up.
Only males too, because it has to be akin to Shakespeare's time. So back in Shakespeare time, only males could act. So like the roles of Juliet would be taken by an effeminate looking guy. But instead, we're not going to go about effeminate at all. We're just going to be like, okay, Randy Savage, you are Juliet. It's like Romeo.
Yes, this would be great. I would, if I had infinite monies, I would make this happen, and I think people would love it.
I would love it too. You know, you've never told me about that.
If you just have fun with it, and the actors are having fun, then people will watch it and be like, we know what this is. It's just it's a dumb movie. Let's watch it. I don't know. I think it would be great. Anywho, let's talk about the other movie we're supposed to be talking about. So this motherfucker, Frank, he wakes the fuck up. He's in a room. It's very sci-fi.
Very sci-fi, very futuristic.
Yes. But I can immediately tell that, like, he's using plastic crates or something like that. Like, it looks like he's like repurposed things from, you know, real life to make this look futuristic-y.
Frank is or the director?
The director, and he did a really good job, though. I think he made this room look cool
absolutely.
as fuck.
The room
and
is
I think I already said the budget was pretty low in this movie, but they do such a good job with all the special effects and stuff that they do. I enjoyed it a lot. Even though, like, remember the little robot that comes up later? He's like, he's kind of like bobbing along.
Yeah.
He's like wiggling almost, and I'm like, oh, I like that. This little guy, because he's just like a remote control robot.
But see, like
they do a good job.
I wasn't necessarily looking at that. Now that you point that out, I can go back and I'll see what you saw. But like at first, I'm like, this is fucking awesome. So I wasn't even paying attention to that. It looked futuristic to me. I'm like,
It looked great.
This is great.
The only time where I was kind of like, it was a little distracting is they show like an explosion scene later on in the movie, and it looked like a stock explosion scene. But I'm like, well, I mean, what else can this film do? Like, they're not going to actually blow things up. Like, it was pretty well done. Anyways, so he wakes up. He's in this room. He has no idea why he's there. And this little AI head camera thing appears from the ceiling. And it's like a glass bulb with a camera in it. And it turns left and right and looks around. And it says that its name is Howard. And it's there to process him.
Process him. And that he is his ISO, I think we LSO.
said. LSO. Okay.
Life
that was
support
the word.
operator.
Yes, life support operator. And that he is supposed to keep him alive. That's his first objective. And his second objective is to keep him in the room until they are done processing him. But as we quickly find out, he will never be done being processed. Like, this is the process. Him being there. When I'm enjoying the movie the most is during the exchanges between Howard and Frank going back and forth. Trying to figure out each other.
I'll agree to that, but I think my favorite part is the different one. Like it's so the acting between Howard and Frank. Well, okay, so again, what's his name?
Christopher Soren?
Christopher Jeremy Irons. He's a fantastic actor.
Fantastic.
He was fantastic. He just everything. So yeah, I will agree that any exchange he had with the robot was great, but it's not my favorite thing.
The guy's hair, too, whenever he gets upset, it flips and flops all over the place. He's like, I just don't know. It's kind of like Kramer, but before he was racist. And
I don't think racism affects your hair, but all right.
I think it does.
You know something? You're wrong.
Racist hair. It's weird because Howard is an AI, and he's going through all these weird different protocols, like offering him food. He's like, are you thirsty? I have all these different varieties of things.
No, not varieties. He has flavors. He has 3 different flavors of drink, and he has 3 different flavors of food. The flavors of drink he has 4 flavors of drink.
Oh.
Because he forgot one. He's like, I have regular water, I have this tropical stuff, and I have something else. I don't remember what it was. And he's like, oh, and I also have coffee. It's like, okay, great. And then
coffee becomes a huge thing where he's like always offering him coffee every morning.
And then with the food, it's like congealed broth, and the flavors are chicken, vegetable, and beef.
It's disgusting.
No, it's semi-solid. It's like a weird like jelly.
Yeah,
it's yellow. It's gross.
And what I liked about it too is they draw a lot of parallels to him when he's in the real world. So it shows like him feeding his dog out of this silver
I'm
bowl.
glad you brought this up.
And then it shows him getting his food, and it's out of the silver bowl. So it's like him being fed like a dog.
We don't like endings, right? I don't mind the ending of this film. But what I'll tell you, this is the biggest flaw of this film. And you have just touched it. I was waiting for you to bring it up because I knew you were going to bring it up in passing. You didn't even fucking think about this. I don't want to say I wrote a whole thesis on this because I didn't. I just wrote one sentence down, but it bothered me so much. So this is fair to say it's like futuristic sci-fi nonsense, right?
Yeah.
All this hullabaloo from the future. Why no future dogs? Why was it just a normal dog who he was feeding normally?
This is what you're upset about.
This is exactly what I'm upset about.
In the entire film, the film was.
The film should have had a bionic dog
Oh, man. Then the movie would have been about this bionic dog.
Then we
though.
could have had an extended fetch scene, and it would have developed Frank's character so much more. You have his whole comeuppance about like the future and how robots suck because his dad has a pacemaker. That's boring. I want his dog to be saved by a robot and become a robot. So that his dog was hit by a car.
Well, how do you know the dog was not a robot?
Imagine this backstory. I don't, but it wasn't told to me explicitly, and I'm a stupid film goer, so let's just go
So
with
if
that.
things aren't explicitly explained.
But there was no implication that the dog was a robot. Now listen to this
Robo-dog.
backstory. Robo-dog. All right, here we go. So instead of his dad, forget it. Write him out of the movie. It's his fucking dog.
Well, explain that a little bit.
So what?
So
his
we don't
dad?
have to say it again. Yeah, the whole deal with his dad.
Well, apparently his dad had the pacemaker, and it still didn't help. It kept him alive for 4 years whenever he should have just died.
Yes, and that's how the main character Frank feels about it and robots.
Right.
He thinks like, why prolong someone's life? Why not just
And I
let
get
them
that.
live
I
naturally
get that.
and end it when it's supposed to?
I get that. I feel the same
Okay.
way. But here's what I don't get. Ready? Why the tired cliche of a father figure needing to fuck up a movie? I want to go with dogs because everybody likes dogs. So his dog is struck by a car in a tragic drunk driving accident, and he is beside himself.
A
And
flying car.
A flying car, yes, absolutely. Anyway, the flying ambulance comes and picks up the dog by a crane.
Yeah,
And then
future crane.
flies him to the veterinary hospital. And then the veterinary hospital, of course, is occupied by robot doctors. And they implant this robotic brain and heart into the dog and then give him, I don't know, metallic extremities because why not? It's the future. And after a while, after that, like his dog is brand new and he goes to the park and he plays fetch, like bionic frisbee fetch. And he is having a grand old time with the dog. But then eventually the robot takes over the dog. The dog's brain is completely robotic, and he goes. He has like this malformed wiring, and then the dog murders his father.
You and Cyber Cujo.
Yes, but murdering
God
the
damn
father,
it.
so we can. So Travis Malloy can still be happy with his daddy issues. Have the dog murder the dad, and then robots suck.
What the fuck? No. Okay, here's my angle. All right.
Okay.
I don't want the dog to be the murderer. Okay.
But he
No.
needs a reason to hate robots.
yeah, here's the deal.
Okay.
Okay, he still hates robots because of his stupid dad thing.
But that's dumb.
This
Dog
is my
murder is
plot,
better
okay?
than freaking deep philosophical bullshit about dying when you're supposed to die. How about dying whenever a dog kills you? Yeah.
The
it
floor
happens.
now recognizes. Your Honor, I think the dog should go on a magical journey to save his owner. I think it should be a spin-off series where the dog goes and saves his master.
From the Infinity Chamber.
Yes.
And along the way meets a toaster and an electric blanket. They are
Yes.
afraid of a air conditioning unit.
How about a man whose only function, a robot man whose only function is to make toast?
I like it.
And he's got a toaster head.
Why hasn't that film been made yet? Who thinks about that film besides us?
The Brave Little Toaster?
Yes.
A lot of people. It comes up.
I don't
But,
think so.
It's a great movie.
Okay. So we're in this Infinity Chamber.
Yes.
Tell me more about it.
He
Rant over.
comes to find out that he is there mistakenly, or he thinks he is at least. He's like, I don't know why I'm here. I've never broken any laws, blah, blah, blah. He's trying to convince the machine this is all a mistake. I shouldn't be here. And the machine's like, listen, you're apparently supposed to be here, and I'm just supposed to take care of you until you can be processed. So he's thinking about that and trying to weasel his way out of being there. One thing I do want to bring up, too, is when we first are introduced to Howard, the robot, they cut to a room outside of the chamber, the Infinity Chamber, where Frank is being held.
Correct. We mentioned this briefly, and that's where Howard the Duck sit.
Yes. There's just that office room, but when Howard is speaking, he sounds like a normal dude.
Yeah, you can hear him in the same room as the camera.
Yes. So then it cuts to where the Infinity Chamber is with Frank, and his voice is modulated to sound like a robot voice.
Exactly. So you
So
would
that made
think
me
he's
think-
talking through a microphone.
It just made me think that there was an actual person who was interrogating Frank, pretending to be a robot. So that's why when he had that revelation of that the AI was a robot, I was confused because I'm like, I already thought that he was not a robot, pretending to be one. So when he realized that he was an AI, I was like, you see this loop I'm already making of like, what is happening? And it was a fun revelation because he started like, we already made fun of this. We might play it because it was actually pretty interesting. Where he keeps saying the same thing over and over again, and Howard keeps giving the same response, and he's like, "Oh, he's a fucking AI." And then they start going through how he's an AI, and from like what Howard first told him, which all sounded like he was a person, to when Howard became this AI in Frank's mind, became something totally different. He started giving him different answers that would fit what he thought, what Frank's narrative was.
I want to try a different flavor.
Which one is this?
Vegetable. May not seem like much, but it does have everything you need. Vitamins and minerals.
Have you tasted it?
I don't have that information.
Wait a second, what does that mean?
Which part?
Howard?
Yes, Frank.
Howard.
Yes, Frank.
Howard.
Yes, Frank.
Howard.
Yes, Frank.
Howard.
Yes, Frank.
Howard!
Yes, Frank.
You gotta be kidding me.
About what?
Throughout him being in the Infinity Chamber, when we go to the coffee shop, when he speaks to Howard and everything, I think all of that's an interrogation to get whatever information that they want from him.
While I see that, tell me how it would work in this narrative, because we are led to believe throughout this him waking up constantly in the new dream and like that machine like altering his daydreams or whatever. We are led to believe that he has amnesia and he's trying to figure out why he's there. But in like this 5-second throwaway scene, Frank says, "I've just been fucking with you the whole time," in some words.
Oh yeah, later.
So
like
how does that fit into the narrative that you just described?
I mean,
that's where I got confused.
Do you want to explain? We can just explain what Frank really is.
Yes.
I guess. So Frank does know exactly why he's there, because he is a part of this resistance in the future. Like in this world, there are flying drones and machines control everything. And he hates machines, for one, because it prolonged his dad's suffering of being on life support. There's probably other reasons, but
because his robotic dog murdered his dad.
Yeah. Which didn't happen in the film. And he is really, really good at computers, but yet he hates them. And he built this virus or something that was going to shut down the whole core of the network that controls all of the machines. And he thinks once he does that, it's going to start an Armageddon where the machines will literally try to blow themselves up to prevent whatever the virus or shutdown is from happening. So it's going to cause this cataclysm that's going to reset the world back to no technology. It's one of those classic cliche kind of a things like, I'm going to reset the world, So he wants to do that. But in the beginning of the film, he's pretending he doesn't know why he's in this. He's been arrested, all this other stuff. And he is kind of faking with the machine to try to like cat and mouse his way out of what he's doing. Now that becomes really confusing later on when we meet his cellmate and some other shit that happens.
Oh, wait, okay. So the cellmate's my favorite part. But I'm now remembering exactly why I think you think this film is broken. Because now that I remember it, I'm like, oh, yeah, that made no fucking sense.
Oh, nothing makes sense. Everything's thinking. You think?
I do think. All right, so.
Okay.
He wakes up, feeds his dog, pulls out this.
Dick.
Flash drive.
Oh, flash drive. Yeah, they really zoom in on this flash drive a bunch.
To the coffee shop.
Yes.
Looks at a picture of a tree. It says nothing. And then the person who took it comes up behind him. She works at the coffee shop. She's like, "Do you like that? I took it." And he's like, "Yeah, I do like it. It's great." Like, "Do you want anything?" He's like, "Sure, a coffee." The issue is whenever he gets his ID scanned to pay for the coffee, they find out where he is. Yes. And then they come in and kill him.
Well, they stun him.
The stunner.
They don't kill him.
Well,
they give him the stunner.
The stunner.
You forgot the most important part.
Oh, what did I forget?
the lady guesses his name over and over
Oh
again.
yeah, that was the
Wasn't
best
that
part
fun?
of the movie. Yes, of course.
And if you don't like this coffee scene, guess what?
She says, Chris, David, Nick, Nicholas, Tom? I don't remember.
Jerry,
Freddie. It's Freddie. Gerald?
Stevie, Billy,
Stevie.
McGillicuddy.
Bartholomew.
And then she says, Frank, oh, I'm so good at this. I'm really good. I'm good at photographs and I'm good at guessing names.
As this, so essentially this vision that we keep seeing, that we keep flashing back to, you get kind of used to it immediately. Like this is the scheme of the film. It's like we're either in the Infinity Chamber or we're in this flashback.
Or
and
in
this
a fucking coffee house.
Yeah, this flashback in the coffee house is essentially this weird drone-like whirlwind warble wobble thing in the Infinity Chamber.
The fan.
The fan.
The spinning fan. So this thing hypnotizes him into... So basically,
Excuse
it goes
me,
into his own
whirlwind
mind.
world wobber is the correct term.
Boy, do I got a sale for you. It's the Whirlwind World Wobbler. It's flim-flamming, wham-wambling, whim-wambling, whirlwilling, warflop-blobber.
Imagine a fan, but it moves very slowly and looks futuristic.
Yeah.
And you cannot call it a fan anymore. You have to give it a separate name.
Yes.
GE's Whirlwind Whirble Blobber.
For men.
Fermented.
Oh, for her pleasure. So he's got this device in his room, and that he's figured out if he stares at it, it will take him into his own memories, which is like another chamber. I know, pretty cool. And it's it's like a weird other world in his head where he is walking through the events of before he got kidnapped and put into the Infinity Chamber. Now, I think the whole point of this is for interrogation purposes. They're trying to get him to remember things so they know where the fucking disc is, or the little memory chip, so they can stop him from doing the apocalypse. But what's annoying is every time we go to the fucking coffee shop, we have to have this same exact conversation with this lady.
It changes around the
It
last
does.
one.
Here's why I was upset, and here's why I was okay with it kind of after.
Okay.
It's because the female lead's acting, the lady who plays Gabby, she's
Madeline?
She's like, oh yeah, or Madeline, I guess, is her real name when he meets her in real life. Or does he? Ooh! Dun dun dun! So he's there with her a lot, and I enjoy the back and forth or whatever. More so when they get out of the loop, when they get out of more of what the loop is. Mm-hmm. But she acts so subservient and like...
Yeah. Like okay with everything?
Yes. Just like how Howard is.
So it's like Howard is Gabby.
Yes. That's what I'm thinking. Because at first I'm like, I hate this character. Why does she act this way? This is so annoying. It doesn't matter what Frank says. If he's like... Gabby, go fuck yourself. I hate you. I'm going to kill you now. She's like, oh, well, do you want that cup of coffee? And you're like, what?
And then she like splits apart her face and Howard the Duck comes out.
Seriously. It's like, Gabby, I never want another cup of coffee again. I'm going to burn this fucking place to the ground. Is your name Steven? No. It's not. Stop saying things I'm not saying to you. So she does this a lot. But then like I said, I thought, maybe she is Howard. Maybe she's part of the interrogation. She is there to make him feel a form of like trust or safety, because he starts to work out a plan with her to escape, because for some reason later on in the movie, she starts to remember him being there in his own memory, which is fucking nuts. He even tries to explain this to her. He's like, you aren't real. You're in my memory. All this whole world is made up.
And she's like, that's cool. Do you want some coffee?
Yeah. But the problem is, what if it's only partly true? What if he is making it up, but also it's being monitored and manipulated by the AI and by the interrogation room so they can find out info?
I don't know, Jared. What if that happened?
Well, if that's what they're going for, it's fun. If not, then the movie doesn't make any sense. What if panda bears existed in the film? What do you think? What if?
Cybernetic panda bears.
So, Dan, you can talk to us about...
I want to talk about Tube Talk, because Tube Talk is my favorite thing.
What is Tube Talk?
Think about that for a second.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Tube Talk is the best.
You're right. So wait, yeah, the apocalypse thing does happen before that.
Okay.
So briefly, I will speak about this. So he tries to go back into his own memories, right? To figure out a plan to escape somehow. And before he can get to the coffee shop, he sees that the entire city is blowing up. And then he gets caught in the explosion and then wakes back up in the Infinity Chamber, but the Infinity Chamber is shutting down and breaking apart. So, like, all the power goes out. There's, like, auxiliary lighting, and that's it. And he thinks that some big catastrophe has happened and that now he is by himself, all alone, and he's going to slowly run out of food and water and die.
Yes.
And then we get the titular Tube Talk, everyone's favorite new TV show.
I swear, if it were a TV show, I would watch it every day because I could not stop laughing at this. It was,
You thought it was funny?
Crucial dialogue, and it gave a lot of really interesting information. It was a cool information dump, but the way in which the characters are speaking to each other, the way in which all these shots are framed, I was laughing because it looks fucking ridiculous.
Well, because you never see Fletcher's face, the guy, the
you
other
do
guy in
see
the
his
cell.
face.
Well, like, you see,
Not his
like,
whole
half
face.
of it.
Okay, so essentially,
Yeah.
there's a guy named Fletcher in the cell next to him, and like you don't even know that it's like multiple cells. So he has a pipe. Like he managed to get a pipe out of the plumbing whenever the power went out the first time, and he uses it to punch a hole through the vent into Frank's cell. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, "What the hell? Who's that over there?" And they have this nice little chit chat, but like the chit chat takes place in this like I want to say 8-inch diameter hole that connects the rooms, and it's like this big tube that they can barely fit their faces into to talk. And even though they can barely fit their faces in it to talk, they try very hard to fit their faces.
You know,
into it.
my favorite part is when they both pressed their faces against it and did little like kissies to each other. That was really neat.
Yeah,
They're
it was
like,
pretty good. But he essentially gives away. It's like, oh, I'm actually the leader of the rebellion, and this is Fletcher talking, and I know how to escape. And what you have to do is they have a stranglehold on your imagination. So you got to think about what you are thinking about. So imagine, what was your favorite meal as a kid? And he's like, pancakes. My dad used to make pancakes.
This was funny.
And
We had to
then-
play this audio.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then he's like,
pancake audio.
okay. And then he goes through all this crazy stuff. It's like, all right, you got to imagine every detail and blah, 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 blah. And then you look up and your dad's making waffles.
Did they ever use that thing on you? The device?
They've been trying. I was ready. There's a way to beat it. It taps into your neurotransmitters, chemical impulses that create memory. It grabs hold of one signal, one piece that constructs that memory and follows the path to that secret. You don't need to hide the secret. Just hide the path by opening a different door. What's your favorite meal as a kid? First thing that comes to mind.
My father made pancakes.
Think about that. Think about him. Think about the place. The smells. Every detail. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Now everything stays the same. Same man, same smells, same moments. But he's making waffles. The memory stays the same, but the entry point is different. They're in the right house, but they kicked down the wrong door. Man, I could really go for some goddamn waffles right now.
And your dad's making waffles. And then that smile, he's just like, he's
like,
having so much fun delivering that line.
God
You're
damn,
like,
I
what
could
the
go with some
fuck?
waffles right now. Oh my God, it was so funny. But
Waffles.
just so not only is it's an information dump and it looks fucking insane.
information dump?
An information dump. It looks fucking stupid. It looks hilarious, and I can't stop laughing at it. And then the punchline to this scene, because it's not a punchline. It was a nice bookend, sure, but it was a fucking punchline. It's like, hey, my characters look ridiculous. What am I going to do? I'm going to have them talk about waffles.
He's making waffles.
I did laugh a lot during this scene, and I did not think it was the intended
It
response.
was not. It was not. It was so funny, though.
But it made me enjoy the film more, whether
most
it liked it
certainly.
or not.
Most certainly.
And eventually, these guys spend days and days and days together with like not having any food or water, really.
And okay, so there was a period of time, because this is kind of where the film starts to break. There was a period of time in which Frank is yelling at Howard very loud. Mm-hmm. Why didn't Fletcher hear that the first time? Why was this exchange so far into the film?
Oh, like why they never met each other beforehand?
Yeah.
I can explain that, and I will.
All right.
So eventually Fletcher kills himself.
Yes.
And Frank hears all of it, and he's super, super sad, and he decides, I'm going to escape. I'm going to figure out a way to escape, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if he's tried before, but, you know, he's thought of it. And I think the whole deal of him, when he goes back into his own memory, because he sees the world blow up in his own mind.
Okay.
So that doesn't make any sense. And then once he gets out of his own mind, he's back into the Infinity Chamber, and then it's really happening? So how is that possible? How is he affecting what's going on from his mind to what's happening in real life? There are several times where the AI would be like, hey, guess this drink I'm going to give you. And he says what the drink is. And then when it pours, that's what it is. And like he'll predict things that are already happening or going to happen. Because I think he's always in the Infinity Chamber.
Even when he's in the Infinity Chamber.
Yeah.
So
like
he's imagining the Infinity Chamber while in the Infinity Chamber.
Yeah.
Mm.
And Fletcher doesn't exist. He's there to get information from him.
I guess that makes a little bit more sense, because I was going to bring up where I think the film breaks next. Because it does something really cool.
Yeah.
So at one point, while he's, fraternizing with this woman in his memory, Madeline, he, does a dance with her or something. And then that dance goes from memory to the Infinity Chamber to memory to the Infinity Chamber. That was really cool.
It's awesome.
But then here's where the film... It's totally awesome. I love that scene a lot. But it destroyed itself whenever there's a scene where we see Madeline in the same clothes as Frank sitting on the floor of the Infinity Chamber. How does that make sense?
That was cool, too.
But what did that mean?
Just that he's always being interrogated. He's not there to be processed. Being processed is the AI or people who are monitoring him always. They want to find out where that microchip is, where he put it. So the whole technology of the world doesn't end, because this guy's a super terrorist. And Fletcher was somebody he actually was supposed to know. And they knew that he knew him, because Fletcher was like, I'm the leader of the resistance. Do you work for me? And then Frank pretends like he doesn't know him. But he should know him, because like we said at the end, Frank reveals, oh, I was the mastermind behind this whole terrorist attack, and I did know all these people. So it's kind of a weird loop. And then that whole back and forth didn't make a lot of sense with him if he knew him. So there's a lot of him reacting and pretending when it felt too genuine.
Again,
I don't know.
I want to clarify something.
It gets confusing.
Are we talking about Fletcher again?
Yeah.
So did it not make sense? Or did you miss some things because you were laughing too hard?
Waffles.
He's making waffles.
No, look again. Look at those pancakes. They're waffles. Look again, motherfucker.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Waffles. Oh, God. It's so good. So, yeah, I think all of that. Oh, and when he would wake up in his apartment, his real apartment.
Yeah.
And the chair from the Infinity Chamber is in his apartment room.
And
shit like that.
There was a scene where Maddie was sitting in the chair from the Infinity Chamber in his apartment. It's like, what?
And over the course of the film, he's in this room, they say, for 2 years.
Well, then,
But we don't really know.
I'm confused then. Where
What?
do you think the film's broken? Because you've explained everything I had a problem with.
So, okay, we can get to near, I guess, the end of the film. When he first tries to escape.
So wait, it comes towards the end of the film?
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you wanted to talk about anything before then, I was just The one thing I had a problem with, you're like, I think it's this. I'm like, that makes sense.
Oh. Well, okay then.
Clarified.
Clarification. Well, that's me inferring a lot of things. The film doesn't necessarily tell you that. It's just me.
Well, you made it
thinking that's the case.
That's fine. That's fine. You had an argument for it, and I believe you.
Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah.
Everybody needs to go watch this film for like I don't know, the first 50 minutes so you can actually go see what Tube Talk is. And from now on, I want you to imagine that's how we record our podcast, because I think that'll make everything funnier.
It will
That's
definitely
how I
enhance
want to
your
record it.
podcast experience.
Just put a microphone in the middle of the tube.
Yeah, a Tube Talk filter,
Oh,
honestly.
yes, absolutely.
Oh, so he takes Fletcher's advice, and he gets the pipe out of the bathroom or whatever. Oh, what's great, too, is when he was talking to Fletcher, he's like, how did you manage to get the pipe out of the bathroom if the bathroom doors are closed automatically? He's like, when the power went out, mine was open. Like, I liked how they went out of their way to try to explain things that the audience would be thinking about. And I love that shit. But all the answers were so convenient.
That made it seem
It was
like
almost
an AI.
like, yeah. I was just like, oh, man, this is good. So he covers his face because whenever you attack any of the machinery, it lets out this gas like an old boy and puts you to sleep. So he covers his face so he doesn't get knocked out by the gas. He's holding his breath. And then he fucks with the machinery. He ties a bag around Howard so Howard can't see. The gas is the room. This door opens, and this little Roomba robot comes out with a little laser gun. He attacks him, he fucks up, and he runs away. And he eventually gets outside, and it's this huge desert. And he's walking, and I'm like, we all know. There's no way he got out. Like, there's no fucking way he got out.
Because it's the infinity chamber. It goes on forever.
And then he gets to a gas station, and then once he walks in, he hears some music, and it's the exact music from the Infinity Chamber. Because remember, the guy is like, I have several selections I can play for you. And I'm like, this is the fucking music from the Infinity Chamber. Of course you're not out. And then he gets transported back, and he wakes up, and he's so pissed. I fucking love this when he was like losing his mind. He was so angry. But then when he finally gives up, because he starts to think that since his plan has failed, that was his one chance of escaping. And there's this whole love story with him and the girl in his own mind, which was kind of stupid. Because the girl is like, no, don't leave. Like, if you leave, then I can't see you anymore. He's like, oh, I have to leave, and I have to go out to the outside world. To a person who's in his head, who doesn't exist. And she's like, well, if you ever escape and you meet the real me, I want you to try to start a relationship with that person.
Then he was brought up on trials for rape.
Yeah, what did you think about that?
That's exactly what I thought about him.
About the AI telling him. But I also think the whole point of Gabby, or whatever her name is, was to be the good cop for him.
But Howard wasn't really threatening.
Yeah, that's true. But he was like depriving him of food and water and fucking with him constantly.
Yeah.
It was all psychological. And then she was like, I don't know, giving him hope of that maybe I can let my guard down and tell you secrets and like explain where the fucking disc is, you know? And I think he eventually does that.
Yeah.
So he is completely given up.
Okay, we get the zoom in or the close up of Frank taking out the flash drive.
Yes.
From something. And then at the end, we see he's taking
No, it's out of the picture.
But
he hit it behind the picture.
But from the get-go, it's very close up, and you don't know what he's doing.
Yes.
And then it's finally, we find out it's in the picture. It's like,
yes.
Why?
So, like, here's the goofy thing for me, before we even get to that, is he's like, I'm going to hang myself, because I'm fucking done. So he ties a rope or whatever, like cloth, around
Howard.
around Howard's neck, the robot hanging from the ceiling. And why does Howard let him do this, by the way? Wouldn't he have stopped him? So he ties it and then starts to hang himself, and the gas starts to release.
Howard sucks at his job is what it is.
Yeah, he's really bad at his job. And then the little Roomba comes out and shoots lasers at it to break it so it falls. And then he just runs around it, and then like he goes outside, and the little robot's about to kill him. And then earlier, Howard and the robot were like talking, like, "Are you my friend?" Because they've been together for so long. Mm-hmm. And then Howard apparently closes the doors to help him escape. So a fucking AI has convinced Frank that he's actually friends with this robot. And they have like a whole 2001 A Space Odyssey moment where he's like, what is your primary function? He's like shutting him down. And then they even did like open the pod bay doors, Hal type of thing where he's like, what is your prime objective? He's like, to keep you alive. He's like, well, if I stay in this room, I'm going to die. I don't know. It was interesting.
Well,
and I see the movie references like you're talking about. And then they even have a little moment of him like telling Howard that he lied to him. He's like, I'm sorry that I lied to you. Because he does explain like, I really am, you know, this terrorist, and I am supposed to be here for a reason, and I was caught, or whatever. And I think that's why he lets him go, because he's had this breakthrough. Like, he's confessed. Now they need to know where the fucking data chip is. So, like, they're getting information from him, finally. And then he escapes. He's in this snow area. He's walking, and then he sees the picture in real life. He actually sees where the picture was taken. And that's when I knew, I'm like, there is no way he's out of the Infinity Chamber. There's no fucking way he would walk up on the same scene from that picture. He's been obsessing.
But then hikers come by.
Yes.
And then he feels like he's affirmed.
Maybe. So that's what he thinks. He thinks he's safe. And then they do this whole VO of the news saying, this abandoned military facility where they were interrogating people, they found only one survivor and all of them died, and they had like, you know, human rights violations, all this other shit. And then they let him go. But like, even while the newscaster is talking, another newscaster is saying something else, and then both of their voices start to sync up. And it's like them saying the same thing at the same time, and it was fucking weird. I'm like, there is something wrong.
And they said the CPIB is hunting down Frank Weatherford for getting his dispatched operatives murdered in a fatal dog attack.
That did not happen. God damn it. No, they somehow let him go. Like, the police or nobody else wants to talk to him. They're like, wow, you're fine now. Who cares? So then he goes back to the goddamn coffee shop. And that's where he reveals where the fucking chip is. And then the girl is like, he meets the girl again. And they have the exact same fucking conversation where she asks him about the coffee and guesses his name. And then that's when I'm like, there's no way this is real, because, okay, here's my problem with this. So she would have remembered him from 2 years ago. I know you're thinking like, I don't fucking remember somebody I met once from 2 years ago, but this guy was on the news, national news. He got tased at her fucking coffee shop that she owns and works at. She would remember that. So, like, if she sees this guy again and he's like, hey, remember me from blah, 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 she'd be like, oh, yeah, you're that fucking guy who got tasered and was on the news. She wouldn't be like, I'm going to guess your name and do you want a coffee? I made this picture.
That's interesting.
Right?
Because if it works out the way in which you were supposed to work out, then her saying that within the Infinity Chamber is like, if you ever see me in real life, find me and talk to me. Uh-huh. She would recognize him and get him thrown back in the Infinity Chamber.
Probably.
So it's like Howard's failsafe is what you're saying.
But he never escapes, so he's still in there. He's talking to the same fucking fake lady that he was talking to before. And then when the camera zooms out, we see that Howard is like on the ceiling in that coffee shop room there. But then, like,
but why I think he is still in the Infinity Chamber is because we had that moment where he was dancing with Gabby, Maddie, and it was going in and out of those realities. That's the same basic concept. It's like, it's anchored in that reality, but Howard's still there watching.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought the ending was interesting in that way, and I'd like to think of it like, I like my take on it better than
what the film wants.
He escaped and everything is fine.
Yeah, exactly. Because he didn't escape. It's the Infinity Chamber. The film, once again, I will say this, gave away the ending in the title. So you don't even need to watch the movie. You could just be like, well, he's stuck in there forever.
Yep. But do you think he was ever in any real danger of dying, like when the system shut off? I think all of that was fake.
Probably not.
I think there was no Armageddon, because even when he escaped, the world was fine. The coffee shop was there.
But he doesn't get to eat anything good.
That's true. Does he ever get that coffee?
Yeah, he gets the coffee already.
I'm trying to think what I thought was so wrong about the film, because I feel like I just explained everything really well.
You did.
I'm like, what was my big issue with it?
I think you are... Okay, from now on, you are no longer allowed to have an opinion about a film until we talk about it on the show.
No way.
Well, no, not a final opinion. You can't say things are broken until we talk about it.
Oh, here it is. So he would know that Fletcher is not real, because Fletcher would never ask him, hey, are you part of the resistance too? Because Fletcher should already know that, because they've been working together to make this bomb, right? So, like, how did Frank not know that he was still in the simulation then? And then why would he get upset when Fletcher would kill himself if he knew it was fake? So, like, that was the confusing thing about it to me, is that does he understand that he's in a simulation or not?
No.
Because he's been double playing this, and that's why this whole loop of what's happening, and when I said that, I'm doing big circles.
Maybe it's just that he doesn't want to understand he's in a simulation.
I don't know, man. It's so confusing. Because he knows Fletcher. I don't know.
Maybe he wants to be led in circles over and over and over again.
He just wants to bone Gabby. I did like some of the stuff where they were like, Gabby was like, well, if I'm supposed to be your perfect girl, you could have made me a lot more attractive and bigger boobs and stuff.
And he's like,
He's
oh,
like,
you're
yeah,
really
I
going
guess
to go
you're
there?
Yeah, that's funny. So yeah, final thoughts. I thought this movie was pretty good.
I enjoyed it.
I liked it for what it was.
Yeah, for low budget. It looked really good for low budget, for sure.
Yeah. I thought it did a
It
pretty
fooled
good job.
me.
And I thought it's had some pretty interesting ideas.
But Travis, if you could get back to me about my ideas for a rewrite about this dog, and then I will
God damn it.
start casting for the mangy mutt very soon.
Can Jack Black play the mangy mutt?
Yes.
He's just in a dog. Would he be in a dog suit or like dog-like makeup, like special effects makeup, like 3 hours glued to his face?
No, he's just. It's going to be like, you know, the CGI where the dog talks like in Voices.
Oh.
Yeah. So I got to find a specific breed of dog that I think is going to look good cybernetic.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then after you okay it, I will start communications
will
with
okay
You will okay, but I will start communication with the Wildlife Preserve of China to get our hands on some panda bears,
Yes, some endangered pandas.
which we are going to retrofit with copious amounts of metal to make them look futuristic.
No CG.
Only practical
gonna
effects.
Yeah, only special effects. We're going to use like plastic moldings and
Yes.
Oh, it's going to be terrible for them. They're going to hate it. But you're going to love it. Oh. Are we going to... You said you had like a movie game or something you wanted to play?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to do one of those things where it's like... It might take me a little bit. Let me pull up these two websites first.
Okay. I'm going to open up a restaurant called Infinity Pancakes. But when you walk in, I'm going to hand you a plate of pancakes. And then I'm going to spin the fucking plate really fast. And they turn into waffles.
Okay. So, your first task is to pick a number 1 through 7.
1 through 7! 2.
Okay, so you have chosen the thrillers category.
Okay, I like
and it's the biggest category, so...
All right, so...
You have to pick 1 through 7 one more time.
1 through 7? Okay, I'm going to pick 7.
Your selection is dark.
What?
During a city blackout, a lonely and distraught woman becomes increasingly convinced someone is in her building or possibly her apartment. Independent thriller. Starring...
What year?
2015. Starring Whitney Abel, Alexander Breckenridge, Brendan Sexton III. Directed by Nick Basile, it looks.
Oh, okay, I found it. So, when you said Dark, I was like, that's a TV show. Have you seen the TV show Dark?
No.
It's really good. It's fucking really good. So, it's a German time-traveling thriller murder mystery, and it's fantastic. It's on Netflix. It gets a little confusing because it's very heavily involving time travel, but it's fun. I liked it a lot. Now this movie, I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
You will have to watch it. Next one, I promise
will have
we're
to
going
watch
to.
it.
So next time I get an assignment, I promise we're going to go out of our typical zone with either one of two categories that we don't typically watch a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if I have any opinion on this movie. Okay, so I hope there's something, guys. Thank you for sticking with us for this long. If you have been, if you're new, well, hello. I just start doing the intro again. We just restart the podcast. But yeah, find us on iTunes, Old Boys Podcast. We're on Twitter, Old Boys _podcast. Please leave us a review. Say hello to us. We're on Podbean. We're being hosted by podbean.com. You can find us there too. Pretty easy. And if you did, I'd be real happy if you did. Oh, boy. And with that, Dan, you have the final word.
You're sitting at the breakfast table. The sun shines in through the window. The smell of pancakes are in the air. You look at your dad very longingly. You cannot wait to eat breakfast. And then you realize his dick's out.
And it's made of waffles.
Good tube talk.